Michael Parkhurst. Oh, look at the lid. Look at the lid. That is strong, sir. I was going to say, hang on. Let me see if I can.
I got it.
There you go.
I got it. Good morning.
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 That's a wicked hat you got there, Mr. Parkhurst.
Oh, thank you. I was up in Rhode Island last weekend, so had to get the new hat.
Well, and you're also getting signings, and you are raising some early eyebrows in USL Championship with the folks that you are bringing in for the upcoming season.
That's what we're trying to do, anyways. Yeah, we've been really happy with the progress so far. It's challenging, but we've made really good progress. Happy with where we're at right now, and got obviously more things in the works.
All right. So as I'm trying to promote everything that we're going to be talking about, I'm trying to figure out who you are on the 280 character app. Okay, it is Rhode Island FC. And anything else on his mind or his head, be a part of the conversation. So, you got mascots now, you've got players now. It looks like you're building from the spine. You went in net, you've got center backs, all these kinds of things. Am I noticing a philosophy here with you and Kano and everybody up there? Is that what we're staring at? You build from the spine and go from there?
Definitely. That's what you want to try and do. I think it doesn't always work out that way, right? Because guys become available when they become available, but for sure we were looking up the spine to make sure that we've got a good foundation for the team, and that's goalkeeper, center back, center mid, and striker. And we don't have all those filled yet, but we're getting there.
Okay. I know that today has already been a decision day for Atlanta United. I don't want to get into specific players, but when it comes to the end of season and decision days, I know that you've been, part of Major League Soccer. When it comes to decision days and players, obviously it's a rough day on a bunch of different fronts. Franchises have to make decisions. Folks that you've got relationships with may or may not be with you for upcoming years. It's a difficult day in professional sports when you have decision day for teams.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that probably, a lot of those guys knew earlier than today. But yeah, that's the tough thing about the end of the season, right? Guys are moving on and moving out, and that's part of professional sports. You obviously are close with some of those guys, and sometimes it makes you question what's going on, and you wish it wasn't that way. But obviously the front office has got jobs to do, and they're trying to look out for the organization and improve it, right? And every position's always upgradable. So, guys have to move on. But yeah, that doesn't make it easy. And I'm just looking at the list right now. Because I didn't know that it came out this morning, but yeah, that's man, it's tough to see somebody like Chol going and Efren Morales, and
yeah, I think they're still looking to negotiate with Efren to see if they can bring him back in some way. And a guy like Machope, you want to see Machope succeed. Just hasn't been able to stay healthy, and it's just one of those things with Chop that you want to see him flourish, considering everything that he's done. But it's once again, it's one of those decisions that you got to sit there and look at the long-term future. 22 under contract with homegrowns coming up, so there's 8 decisions that can be made to bring folks in and all that kind of stuff. And I know that Miles is definitely another one of those decisions that they've got to stare at. Sounded like after Game 3 in Columbus that he wasn't coming back, but once again, you sit there, and that's what negotiation. That's why they call them contract negotiations.
Mm-hmm.
Not just contract definitives. And so obviously, if you can bring him back, you can. Miles, I know for the longest time has wanted to go and see what life is like on the other side of the Atlantic and those kinds of things. But, that's what this offseason's about. Everybody's starting to make decisions. You sit there and you go, ooh, we'll keep an eye on that person. So it's the build. And that's why I wanted to kind of ask you about your build in addition to what's your, not just, specifically Atlanta United, but the tough part of the year where, you might end up being separated from friends and things.
Yeah.
Best of three. Are you? Did we talk about best of three versus aggregate and what you thought about the new playoff format in Major League Soccer?
It's horrendous.
As you wipe your brow and put your hat back on.
It's horrendous. Yeah, just, I mean, somebody said it in the media. I forget what player, but it was like, you could lose 7-0 and go out there and then tie 2 games and win penalty shootouts and move on. It's just crazy. I was talking to Darlington and he was like, yeah, I've never played in a baseball series, but here I am. So, I don't think anybody enjoyed it. Hopefully MLS has learned from this and we won't see this again or experience it. I think it's just a amateur.
Well, and we were doing the math, and the way that I look at it, and the way that I've looked at it from the beginning is, it's episodes for a television series, and that television series on Apple TV just happens to be called Major League Soccer. And you want to have as many opportunities for your sponsors to run their spots as possible. So that means you've got to have as many episodes as you possibly can. But we did the math, and if everything was 2-leg aggregate except for MLS Cup final, I think it's 2 less episodes. I think it's like 33 matches possible to 31 that you could have if you went aggregate 2-leg all the way through to MLS Cup final. So, if they come up with a change, hopefully it's a little sooner than the beginning of the season.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind 2-leg aggregate for the last round and for this round. I think that the conference final and the final itself needs to be 1 game.
Okay. And so that's Michael Parkhurst has spoken. You put your flag in the ground, and that's where we are. But I look at it from a television series. It's the first year of a new TV series.
I get it.
It's like Friends, Oh, Friends is popular. So what do? We sit there and we have all these different episodes and all this kind of stuff. So I get it going forward. Well, one of the things that I wanted to catch up with you about when it comes to mentoring this go around. Separately, we had the folks from Lewiston, Maine, the boys soccer team on before you, and we got to catch up with them about winning a title and things like that, especially in some of the most dire circumstances that you could ever have, dealing with adversity and things like that. It's about as adverse a situation as you could ever have, like they had in Lewiston, Maine 3 weeks ago. And growing up sooner than you should. Sometimes you're faced with situations where folks have to grow up fast and grow up faster in times when they shouldn't. When you are around mentees and you have to talk to them about advanced responsibility, they've got to be more responsible out there. They've got to, I'm not going to say more adult, but I'll put that in quotes. Do you have the conversations with mentees about maturity and being more mature sooner than they possibly could? Do you have those conversations at all?
Yeah, we do. And talking about like how being an athlete and depending on their situation, but a high level athlete, you're viewed in a different scope than if you're not, right or wrong. And so, you have to mature faster, right? Because you are in the public eye. And, if you're pro at 18 years old, you've got a lot more responsibility and need to show a lot more maturity than an 18-year-old who's at college, right? Because an 18-year-old who's at college who posts something silly online will get a slap on the wrist and oh, he's young and stuff. And an 18-year-old who's a professional and you post something online, you could lose your job or be fined a lot of money or, there's severe repercussions. So, it's different. And so you need to mature. And so we talk a lot about like taking ownership of your own journey, right? Stop relying on mom and dad for, this, that, and the other thing. You should, the more that you can take on your own plate and take ownership of what's going on in your life, the better. And that can help with maturity. So it's definitely a big part of what we talk about, because there's usually a direct correlation between maturity and success and ability to show resiliency and growth mindset.
So when you get to see a mentee and you have discussions with them, and you get to see that light come on, and they get it, they understand the responsibilities and the repercussions, and you see that the level of maturity increase. What's it like for you and Greg, and even for their parents, if they get to show those kinds of emotions publicly? What's it like for you guys to have the sense of pride in someone who gets it and understands something like that, that's an off the field thing, especially for younger players? What's it like for you guys to see that?
Yeah, it's great. It just, I mean, we feel happy for them, right? That they're reaching this spots usually earlier than their peers, because we know how much that can help them have success in their career. Obviously, if it's someone that struggled with it, who's now understanding it and getting it, we feel even better because we feel like we've played a bigger role in helping that person see it and experience it and understand it and get there. But really it's just trying to help them get there and understand it and understand why it's important and take ownership of it, right? And then not just like being told, hey, this is important, but understanding, why is this important, how can it help me? Those things are the key, and that's what we want to see.
When you are learning, because I would posit that we as adults, or just anybody, should be learning something new every day, even if it's a reinforcement of an idea, if it's a new idea that's being presented to us. I always say that if we're not learning, then we're standing still, and that's the last thing you want to do. You want to be standing still. You don't want to be standing still because others will pass you by in whatever field you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to you learning as a mentor, are there certain books that you read? Do folks sit there and say, hey, maybe this would help? When it comes to you learning as a mentor, how do you continue to learn every day and continue to grow, as a mentor the way that you have been?
Yeah, I just think, through experience and reflection on some of the calls that I have and what different people are going through, conversations with Greg, and reading. I read a really good book on my plane rides called The Expectation Effect. It's really, really fascinating book about how the role our expectations play in our lives and in different situations. Things like placebo effect in medicine, to expectations entering a new environment, to like how you perceive getting older, and like how that really, those things really do affect you in real life. Even though a lot of it might be mental, it then becomes present and physical, and just the power of the brain in those aspects of things. And I think that's really important, because when players are out there, and are they bought in, right? And are they bought into the training and what they're learning and their environment? Because if they are, they'll learn exponentially more and become so much more of a better player than if they're fighting things, and don't have that expectation of improvement and that self-belief. So that was a really good book. I enjoyed it.
Beyond Goals Mentoring at BG Mentoring on the Twitter is at MF Parkhurst. Michael won the toss today, and he gets to hang out with me for the Friday free kick. You mentioned perceptions about growing older. Have your perceptions changed about growing older over time? We could take this in separate steps, where your time as a mentor, have your perceptions changed? Were they different from when you were an athlete? Were they different from the time when you were an athlete to a retired athlete to a mentor? How have your perceptions about growing older changed, or have they? Because I think we act a lot younger today. The adults today act a lot younger than, say, our parents or our grandparents, because we always have this thought in our head of, parents and Argyle sweater and Mr. Rogers looking thing, and that's how you're supposed to be. You're supposed to be an old father, an old mother, and you go into the stereotypes of whatever TV episode you want to talk about. But I think that the adults today act a lot younger than adults in previous generations, and that might help our perceptions about growing older.
Totally, and that's a great thing. It is, right? Because the book talked about it was like the perception of getting older and how you stay young, and if you don't give into like, oh, I'm getting old, I can't do this anymore because I'm getting old, or oh, I should feel like this because I'm this age, right? Then you will start to feel like that. No, so I am totally on board with that. I'm trying to stay young. Not only physically, but mentally as well. Trying to engage with my kids, obviously with my mentees, learn the lingo, right?
Whoa, okay.
And honestly, the lingo is just acronyms. They just speak in letters. It's just, IDK and, BRB and FR. And it's like, they don't even speak words. So it's just understanding that. But yeah, I think it is a different perception, right? Of like, I'm turning 40 soon, and like, I don't view that as old. The Riz King, yeah. It's like, no, I still feel young, so it's all good.
So are you trying to become the Riz King?
Definitely not. Definitely not. I don't think my kids would approve.
So for those of us who are older than you, what exactly is a Riz King?
I believe, and Alex, I could be wrong, but a Riz is somebody that's like trying to impress others, I think. Usually somebody that they're attracted to.
Okay, yes, it is. How good are you with attracting folks? How good are you as a male attracting women? I just went to Urban Dictionary, and so I'm not going to repeat what Urban Dictionary.
I knew it. Yes.
Charisma.
That's right.
All about charisma. FR? I mean, how much
For real.
how much of a transition is it for you to have to try to sit here and talk in acronyms? Do you have to talk in acronyms back and forth with your mentees? I could imagine in the Parkhurst household, you might be sitting there and dealing in acronyms, and the boss is sitting there going, really, Michael, you want to do it that way? But yeah. I mean, how are you? Do you talk in acronyms? Do you try to talk the generational lingo? Are you dropping that kind of knowledge on these kids?
Every now and then, because I think it helps them, like, oh, he's not old. Oh, he's young and he understands, he gets it. So every now and then I'll throw one in there, just to let them know, hey, I understand what you're going through. I got you.
I just have this vision of you now. All of a sudden, it's like you're on the field with a lot of teenagers, and you go, BRB, and then you just kind of walk off, and they're sitting there and like, oh, I can't believe he just did that. How many raised eyebrows do you get from mentee aged folks when you are trying to be the Riz King? I mean, do they?
Not as many as my own kids give me, that's for sure. They're much more respectful.
Okay. Well, but you mentioned the whole thing about staying young and learning the lingo, learning how to communicate, learning how they communicate, because what we do with interpersonal communication is, entirely different. And you're having to learn how to bridge those gaps with mentees and the mentee age folks with themselves. So it's another level of understanding that you and Greg have to put together for folks who are, more than half of your age.
Exactly.
I mean, this
life is tough, John.
Yes, absolutely. Especially when you're having to learn things about other folks and see. I'm going to have to print up a sweatshirt that says Riz King and mail it to you. Just literally right here. It just says Riz King.
Riz
and
King.
Maybe a crown that's a little askew, or something
that's
like
that. That's actually pretty good. Maybe I'll get that for my son as a joke.
See, there you go. But that was, that was why I wanted to ask about how you bridge these generational gaps and things like that, because I would imagine, you know, how you did it when you were starting out as a mentor and starting out with you and Great Beyond Goals. I imagine that you've had to adjust over time. Do you remember like the first time you were trying to have these kinds of conversations, and people are sitting there going, what's he talking about? Did he actually just say that? I mean, it's adjusting and learning for you too. Yeah.
Totally, totally. And I think I've mentioned it before. It's like what works with one um, person doesn't necessarily work with another, right? And it's like trying to understand who you're talking with, what their perception is, what they're going through, how old they are, what their maturity level. So yeah, the message, like the overarching messages, stay the same. The delivery has to change, and how you deliver it. So that's all part of the process, but that's what keeps it fun and interesting, right? Because you never know going into each call, what's going on. I had a call right before this of a young man, and he told me, I'm living in Spain and I want to go to college, and so I'm over there researching international stuff, or because I don't know a lot about that process. And then I get on the call, and the guy's from Atlanta, and he went to Polk High School, and so it's like, all you gotta change on the fly.
Well, and I mean, that to me, that's kind of wild. You sit there and it's like, yeah, I'm having a conversation with somebody in Spain, and then obviously it loops back to him being from Pope, but just the idea of having to adjust to all of these different ideas. Do you keep how much journaling do you do? Because I know that Greg journals, and I think he's kind of convinced you into the journaling idea, or at least into the note taking idea. How much journaling have you done to try to keep track of all of the things that you have to keep track of?
Oh, we take notes after every session. We journal and document all of our conversations because we share mentees, and we don't want to overlap too much about what we talk about and stuff. So if I'm talking to a mentee for the first time and I can see that Greg's spoken to him, I'm like, hey Greg, shoot me the notes, man. So we're pretty good about documenting what we talk about, so that we can pick up the conversation right where we left off next session.
So when you and Greg are having separate conversations with a mentee, what aspects does he tackle? What aspects do you tackle, or does that vary from person to person?
Yeah, it varies. I'd say the only thing that is definite is if they are Spanish first language, Greg takes the majority of it. And if they are dealing with college and that process, and admissions and contacting schools and all that stuff, usually I'll take that. But otherwise, it's kind of either or.
Okay, because I mean, I didn't know if there were certain aspects, when it comes to the lines of delineation. It's like, okay, when it comes to on the field, behavior, it's Greg. If it's touchline stuff, it's you. If it's maturity, it's Greg. And it's so that way you guys aren't crossing the streams. I didn't know where the crossover was, or if it was just like, okay, topics in general. Parking handles A, B, C, D, and E, and Greg handles 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So that way you're not blending the way that you're trying not to.
Yeah.
Okay. One more thing before you go. Actually, two. I lied. I fibbed. Last night, U.S. Men's national team took care of Trinidad and Tobago. It was 10-man Trinidad and Tobago after the first 40 minutes, and they finally just wore them down and won 3-0. That much closer to CONCACAF Nations League. Did you watch? Were you passively keeping an eye on what was going on at Q2? What do you think about the Nations League as they're getting closer to hopefully chasing after another CNL title?
Did not watch, John. I actually watched some college soccer last night,
Oh,
NCAA tournament.
Who'd you watch?
I watched IU play Lipscomb, and then I watched Yale play Bryant.
Okay. I see.
Yeah. Bryant had a tough loss at home, dominated the game. And to be fair to this Yale player, ball turned over right past midfield, picked his head up and chipped the goalie with 1.5 minutes left in the game.
I'll have to look for that. So Bulldogs v. Bulldogs, Yale and Bryant. I'll have to look for that one.
Yeah.
All right. So then, since next Friday is Black Friday, and I imagine that you will be hip deep in celebrations, conversations, and trying not to have your Amex smoking from all the transactions that you'll be making getting ready for Christmas. What is the Parkhurst family Thanksgiving? What are you anticipating? And how much of an experience are we missing by not being in the same room with the Parkhursts on Thanksgiving Day?
Well, I come down to Atlanta for the first few days of Thanksgiving week. So we've got our camps down there Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Myself, Greg, Mikey, Ambrose, and Kevin Kratz. So that's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday next week throughout Atlanta. And then drive back here Wednesday night, get back late, and then Thursday do the Thanksgiving. Here at the house, it's just us four, my wife's mom, and the Gressels are coming over for Thanksgiving. So it'll be us hanging out here, watching football, and eating the traditional turkey, stuffing, mashed potatoes type stuff.
Okay, so there isn't a wild card side dish that appears on the Parkhurst family table?
The only thing that's to me abnormal is my son has to have Jello.
Okay.
Weird, I think, but whatever. He loves the Jello on Thanksgiving. That's like the only time of year he has Jello.
Okay.
But no, nothing real crazy, I don't think.
All right. All right. Well, please, sir, enjoy your Thanksgiving. First off, I hope the clinics down here kick some serious ass and make sure that everybody learns how to do set pieces and defend from behind and all of those kinds of things over the next couple of days. And then just drive home late. Just drive home safely, please. I mean, because you said drive home late Wednesday. I'm like, whoa, that's a drive, man.
Yeah, it's 8 hours, but I will, Dad. Don't worry.
Okay, because we want to make sure that you have the proper holiday, and we need pictures. We need everything posted to social media and to BG mentoring and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I want to see you. I want to see you chasing after kids from behind and knocking the ball loose. That's what I want. Exactly. At MF Parkhurst on the 280 character app at BG mentoring. Please have a fantastic holiday. We will catch up with you, sir, in the month of December. And then we get to find out what Christmas is going to be like for the Parkhurst clan as we get closer to determining a champ in Major League Soccer and lament about the playoff structure. Be good, my friend.
There we go. You as well, John. Enjoy.